in 3 minutes. Lynn Cullen goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
And hello to you. How you doing? It be a Friday, the 17th of February, 2017, and the last time I will be doing this program from this location. I told you yesterday, and I'll remind you today, that after today, we are... What's that silly word that they used in TV? They didn't say I can't remember. Oh, on hiatus. On hiatus until March 1. So not a long time, about 10 days, right? And then we will come to you from a different studio, frankly, a lot nicer studio, in downtown Pittsburgh. Okay, so this is my last time talking to you until March 1. And I hope you'll all be there for our inaugural program there. I hope for a long run at our new location. It's still City Paper affiliation, same thing. We're just moving our studio. Well, actually, I saw the new place for the first time yesterday. I was driving in from Beaver County, I believe, and I had on Sirius Radio. That's SIR, Sirius Radio, and there was a press conference that the president was giving. And because I had that long to drive, I was able to listen to the whole thing. It is a wonder I didn't drive off the road in a few instances. I ended up getting downtown, still listening, parking, and staying in my car until the bitter end. I'm going to end up quoting Wolf Blitzer. I was listening on CNN because the first words out of his mouth after the conference was over was what I was just about to say myself. Wow. And I just heard a report that a reporter who was at the event left the White House, ran over to the Capitol building, and started trying to get reaction from Republican Congress people. And one guy said to him, "I will not be quoted on this, but I just have this to say." And then he mouthed the word, "Wow," 3 times. Wow. Wow. Okay. So the understanding is that this guy is stark raving mad. Here's what he said. I give you just 2 quotes. "This administration is running like a fine-tuned machine." There's not a person in the world that thinks that's true. Okay? This administration is running like a fine-tuned machine. Even people who are rooting for him. Nobody can look at what we've seen in the last 3.5 weeks and make a statement like that. The other thing he said that was mind-blowing, he just says it. Quote, "Let me tell you about the travel ban." Oh, remember, it wasn't a travel ban? Yeah, okay. "Let me tell you about the travel ban. We had a very smooth rollout of the travel ban." Okay, so by now we know this is what he does. He just looks us straight in the eye and lies. And what's disconcerting about this, I mean, it's disconcerting on its face, but what's disconcerting about this is that this is the kind of thing that we are now learning, unfortunately, that autocrats employ. They just keep telling you what they say is the truth, and you get in line, or eventually you're going to be rolled over. Okay, so we're in a world that America has not been in before. Frightening. Truly frightening. So here's some reporting. Trump's close allies said he was just thrilled by his performance, and that he was, and here's the word, he was soothed. Soothed. It was his call. It was sort of a bang. He told people, his own media people didn't know he was holding a news conference until 2 or 3 hours before. It just came to him. And it came to him because he knew in his dark heart that he needed to get back into that bully pulpit routine that he loved so much. And he needed to punch some reporters out. And so this is a way that he soothes himself and gives himself a sense of power and control. Because by all accounts, and again, this is coming from inside the White House, he has been brooding, he has been furious, he has been none too happy, he has been, here's another word that's come out of his own White House, unnerved by what he perceives as his lack of control. He finds himself, for the first time in his life, seemingly atop the President of the United States. You can't get higher than that. And yet, he feels like he has less power and control than he's ever had because, in fact, the President of the United States shares power in our form of government. He's never had to deal with checks and balances and a media that can ask any question and expects an honest answer. So he's unnerved. We're not even 4 weeks in. And he just kept saying the same kind of falsehoods that he said. It was the biggest electoral win since Ronald Reagan. He tells a room full of reporters who all know that is so untrue. It is immediately fact-checked. Even the people who swallow everything he says would have to admit that it was not the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan. It wasn't even close. And when a reporter said, that's not true, actually said, that's not true, and started giving him the numbers, that Obama had done better, that Clinton had done better than that, he then said, no, I meant the Republican presidents. And then the reporter said, well, yeah, George W. did better than you, and George H.W. did better than you. They all did better, and here you are saying it was the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan. And his response to being given that was to lay blame on somebody else, some unnamed, faceless person. He said, well, I was given that information. I've been given that information. And as we know, whatever he hears that he wants to believe, that is true. This will not stand. You can't have a government like this, where he sees a finely tuned machine, everybody else sees chaos. And the professionals, like the guys in our security community, are really freaking out, really frightened, because they really know the score. They know how happily Putin and North Korea and China and all those who wish us ill, Al-Qaeda, ISIL, how all of them are looking at this chaotic Trump presidency and just the champagne corks are popping off left and right. This is unbelievable for them. So Trump is without a national security advisor because the national security advisor has had to leave because he was talking to the Russians when he shouldn't have been, and then he was lying or something, or who knows what the real story is, but he's gone. So he needs an NSA, a national security advisor. It's one of the more important positions in his White House. He goes then to this admiral, right? I think he's a Navy admiral, Harwood, who everybody says is a good man. Harwood turns him down. When's the last time you heard of somebody being offered what is considered the plum position in national security, and the guy says, "No thanks, I don't want it." Now Harwood put out a letter saying, well, his family blamed it on his wife. I've got other things. Blah, blah, blah. But what has been reported is that he turned to a friend and said and called the Trump administration, excuse my language, a shit sandwich. He said, why the hell would I want to have anything to do with that shit sandwich? Smart man. So, qualified man. So here's a qualified guy they went to, and he said, are you fucking kidding me? I don't want to be... Anyone in their right mind would say the same thing. You don't want to be pulled into this chaos. To be pulled into the chaos of the Trump administration is to end up either, sullied in some way, or, in fact, even in prison before it's over. So why would you do it? I don't think you would. So that brings us to David Brooks, who's always now saying what's in my head. And he and I rarely were on the same page, but we are now. he says what I've been thinking, and I think I've said to you a few times. I still have trouble seeing how this administration survives a full term. Okay, I've said that for a long time. But then I've also said this, which David Brooks. On the other hand, he says, I have trouble seeing exactly how this administration ends. Well, that's true. We cannot see it running a full term, and yet we cannot know how it's going to end, and that is unsettling. Brooks' take on it about not knowing how it ends is this. There are many of the institutions that would normally remove a president like this aren't functioning. And that is, in fact, the Congress of the United States. The checks and balances, if they were working, the Congress at this point would have already started talking seriously about removing this guy from office. And, still speaking of Congress, there are no longer the kind of moral arbiters, men of character. They were all men back then. Men of character to lead an impeachment process or forced resignation process. And there's no longer what we had in Watergate, essentially a pretty single media establishment that shapes how we all sort of see what's going on. So this is a country, as we now know, in which two realities exist. And so the public cannot be of one mind ever. The Congress is exhibit one of cowardice, self-interest, and party over country. So those are two things that would normally help us understand how this ends. And Brooks points out that everything about Trump that absolutely appalls 65% of the American people totally delights the other 35%. And that's the only people he's talking to. And the Republicans, they're afraid of that 35%. Again, being the moral behemoths that they are. They're terrified of them. That's their base. So the likelihood is this, according to Brooks, we are going to have an administration that already, he says, has morally and politically collapsed without it actually going away. That's our reality now, and that's it. We are told by the head of this administration that it's a finely tuned machine, even as we look on and see chaos unlike anything we have ever witnessed. And we see no way to get this ended under control, so that even though we're not going to have a functioning government is what it is. And that's why the Russians, the Chinese, everybody, probably most people in the world, when they cease being terrified, even our so-called allies, are licking their chops at seeing the United States brought so low. Let me share with you. I heard this guy interviewed the other day, and it turns out he's written an op-ed for the Times today as well. This is a guy, an establishment Republican, and a former CIA officer. So he has spent his life in the intelligence community and also as a stalwart supporter of the Republican Party. In fact, he was the chief policy director of the House Republican Conference up until August of 2016. Okay? So this guy is, you would think, be happy. His Republicans have the Congress. They got a guy in the White House. They could well have the Supreme Court rather quickly. And this guy is as freaked as I am. Former policy director of the Congressional Republican National Conference up until just 8 months ago, and also a former CIA officer. This is the guy, as far as I know, who did run an independent candidacy where he got a ton of votes in Utah, Evan McMullen. Okay? I heard him speak yesterday, and wow. I mean, he's a smart and honorable. I guess all I want now are honorable people. I don't care if they're Republicans. I don't care. I'm not partisan in that way anymore. The only sides I see now, the divide I see, is between people of honor and the others. And we're not getting enough people of honor in the Congress. And that's one of the reasons we're in this pickle of knowing this administration cannot stand and yet not being able to figure out how it falls. Knowing it has already, as Brooks said, fallen morally, politically, in every way. But it's still there. It still is. The administration. So McMullen says this. He flat out sees Trump as a clear and present danger, which is what I've been saying. He says he presents an acute danger to American national security. This is a conservative Republican who was a CIA officer. He brings those two together, and he sees Trump, as I see him, as an American national security threat. He says, we're talking here. Why are Republicans appalled? We're talking here about possible collusion, these are his words, with one of America's principal strategic enemies as it tried to influence the election in Trump's favor. And don't think that this Republican's assessment is not in fact shared by a lot of Republicans in the Congress who don't have the courage or the honor to rise above their own petty, personal, political ambitions and status. McMullen says one senior Republican leader informed his peers that he thought Trump was actually on the Kremlin's payroll. This is a senior Republican leader telling other Republicans in Congress that he thinks Mr. Trump is actually on the Kremlin's payroll. And he says the other Republican leaders he was talking to were surprised by their colleagues' frank assessment, but they did not dispute it. Imagine that right there. You have Republican leadership in the Congress of the United States that goes so far as to say Trump is on the Kremlin's payroll. And they're sticking with him. Treason. I don't know, what else do you call that? Treason. And then McMullen says, well, you see, I mean, look, here's their point of view, and he's talking as a guy who was their policy advisor in the Congress, in the House. He says they were so thrilled to win back the White House so they could advance all their policy priorities. Let's get that poor the burden of taxes off all those rich guys, and let's destroy health care for the poor. I mean, they had an opportunity to do that and take the Supreme Court. And so McMullen tells us so that all those people with all that ambition to do all those wonderful things, they just looked the other way and decided that despite his faults, they're going to work with him because they are not honorable. It's the only thing you can get to. They are not honorable. He goes on to say that shockingly, some of the Republican leaders most concerned about Russian subversion and Trump's possible compromise were his first and most vocal supporters among congressional leaders. This guy is doing everything but naming names. Some publicly and some privately stated their concerns, but it was an inauspicious trade of national security for political self-preservation and partisan ambition, and that is the definition of a characterless, amoral traitor. Those are my words. He finishes up by saying this: America's security is now at stake. He says Republican leaders in Congress have got to urgently recommit to patriotism, and they should demand that Attorney General, Jeff Sessions appoint an independent special prosecutor to investigate Russia's assault on American democracy and Trump's possible collusion with the Kremlin. They have no intention of doing that. Traitors. So if that's what we got to wait for these Republicans in Congress to put us, America, before their own political ambition, if that's what we got to wait for, then I am really concerned, because we have received no indication that they are capable of that. Chris writes, a former CIA agent last night said that if this administration is running like a fine-tuned machine, then it's running like a 72 Pinto. Yeah. Oh, there have been lots of funny things about that. Rube Goldberg things with, spitting things out all over. Yeah, no. Yeah, what a joke. 'Cause, 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 Chuck says, did you see the New York Times article today calling into question Trump's mental health? No. I don't think I did. How's that possible? If you didn't come away from yesterday's press conference thinking that Trump may be mentally ill, you may be mentally ill, says Chuck. Although he said many things yesterday that were at best alarming, yeah, he talked about a nuclear holocaust. That came out of nowhere. What was that? I'm sitting there and all of a sudden he said something like, oh yeah, nuclear holocaust. That's what had happened. I mean, what? What? But Chuck says how he even delivered all these comments was just as scary. And it seemed to me that the press was purposely allowing him to ramble. Well, he wouldn't even acknowledge that. I mean, they gave him rope and he just kept hanging himself. And the sad part of this is his supporters still love. There's nothing you can do about the 35%. Nothing. 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 They will follow this guy into the depths of hell. Did you see what Fox News' Shepard Smith said? That was a profile in courage, given that he was in Fox's studio when he said it. But he flat out took Trump down yesterday. Off the cuff, just enraged. And of course, he's now facing a huge backlash among Fox viewers who don't like people actually stating truisms on their air. Right toward the end, two of the most sort of jaw-dropping exchanges that Trump had with the media occurred. The first, he was looking around. He'd already said he was only going to do 5 more minutes. And then he said, I'm looking for a friendly question. Let's see, a friendly question. And he points to a guy he doesn't know, who's an Orthodox Jew. There's a guy, he's got a beard, he's got a yarmulke on his head. And he says, he turns to him, he says, are you a friendly reporter? And this guy, who turns out to be a guy named Jake Turks, who is from a magazine I've never heard of called Ami, which in Hebrew means friend, doesn't it? Oh, no, maybe that's in French. It means friend. That's French, right? Ami. What does it mean in Hebrew? Well, see, that's what happens when you know a little bit of a lot of languages. You get them all mixed up. Okay, anyway, Ami. And here's what this guy said. He stood up and he says to the president, I have not seen anybody in my community accuse either yourself, and he's described here as an ultra-Orthodox Jewish reporter. Well, that community is behind Trump. And he says this. So this is an ultra-Orthodox Jewish reporter for a publication I've never heard of, but he says this to the president in asking his question. I haven't seen anybody in my community accuse either you or anyone on your staff of being anti-Semitic. But then the guy goes on to say, but Jewish community centers have been getting bomb threats and other anti-Semitic acts have been happening. And he said, what we haven't really heard being addressed from you is an uptick in the anti-Semitism and how the government is planning to take care of it. And Trump went nuts. He said, I am the least anti-Semitic person that you'll ever see in your entire life. The reporter had flat out started the question by saying, I don't know anybody in our community who thinks you're an anti-Semite. And Trump responded as if he called him an anti-Semite. So he says, I'm the least anti-Semitic person you've ever seen in your entire life. And the poor reporter says, but sir, I wasn't, and he's trying to say, no, I didn't tell you. And Trump says, quiet. Oh, God. Quiet. Sit down. And then he goes to the rest. See? He tells the people in the room, he lied. He was going to get up and ask a very straight, simple question. And then he goes on to say, that question was repulsive. It was very insulting. And then he talked about how all the anti-Semitic acts that have happened because of people who hated him, who were doing that to make him look bad. In other words, I'm making anti-Semitic bomb threats. People like me. All right. Oh, God. Joe's on the line.
Hey, Lynn, did you hear him say, too, he was left a mess?
What
the hell did he think Obama was left? That's a mess. 2 wars.
Oh, no, I know. That's the other one of the silly things. He says, he's
got a good economy. I don't know.
To be honest, I inherited a mess, he said. Yeah, I mean, again, you just want to say, are you kidding me? You want a mess? See what the Republicans left Obama. That's a mess.
Yes. And we shouldn't be surprised that this is like this because they lowered the bar with George W.
Yeah.
That war stuff, and nothing got done. To me, all those guys, they should have been in jail, a lot of them. And nothing was done, so it just gets worse every time they get in there.
Well, you can't get anywhere. They've lowered the bar. It's in the sub basement. I mean, you can't. I mean, forget it.
Trump's he's taken the. Oh my gosh.
It's really something. And if you saw that news conference, and you're not scared, you're out of your mind. That's our president.
Told me he's not on a reality show anymore. I don't know what it is. That's how he's acting, like he's on a reality show.
Well, he is.
Unbelievable.
He is. Be unbelievable. And dangerous. I mean, that is so dangerous. Because this is... oh, God. Anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Joe. Bye. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Good luck to us all. And then after he totally destroys this poor ultra-Orthodox Jew who had tried to give him a softball question and given an opportunity to finally say something, that he was taking this anti-Semitism seriously, which he has yet to do. He's been asked a number of times, and every time he goes bonkers. And after that, he goes on to a black woman. But hang on. We got Hank on the line. Let's see what... Hank? Hello?
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 It's
I can tell you're... the minute I heard your hello, I know who this is.
Yeah.
Hanko.
Well, I'm listening in, and my blood pressure is just ticking up and up, and
Well, you're so young. I'm getting your blood pressure up. You listen, it can kill me. I get my blood pressure up every time I do this show, and it's going to kill me. I want you to give a good... You're going to speak at my funeral, aren't you?
Sure, yeah.
Well, you'll be there to bury me, at least. So, I mean, yeah. I want a good talk. All right, so, Hank,
I'll do my best.
What do you young folks have to say?
Well, I'm calling in from probably anti-Trump, or it's the sort of demon town of any Trump supporter's fever dream from Oberlin College.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Oberlin, Ohio, where the land of trigger warnings and constant fuel for bad New York Times op-eds and things like that.
Right.
And I study Russian for any...
yes, you do!
So I can comment on the sort of just delight that must be going on in Moscow.
Can you imagine?
It's unbelievable.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We're all in the same boat now.
So what do you, I mean, is it conceivable? I can't believe that actually a Republican congressional leader said, I actually think he's on the payroll of the Kremlin, Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
he should be.
It's the thing is, I wonder, what's scary about someone like that saying it is it's not, it's not some person on my Facebook feed, some liberal person saying it. B, if you're a congressional Republican at that high of level, you might have some sort of actual intelligence information that could lead you to believe that. I think it's much more likely that he's not on their payroll. Certain people might, obviously, clearly people in his circle are somehow involved in that.
Yes.
But I think they just look at him as like a windfall of imagine having this kind of an idiot heading your your largest geopolitical rival. It's if he can drive the U.S. into the ground, they don't need to pay him. They just need to flatter him. They just need to say, oh, yeah, you're doing a great job, Mr. Trump, and he'll do anything they want.
So all these people thought they could play him. I mean, and are playing him. I mean, Putin's played him.
Yeah.
I think Bibi Netanyahu's playing him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so the Republicans in Congress think they can play him. They're the ones I don't think are playing him very well. He's gonna.
No, they are getting played.
They're getting played. Right.
This is the thing with Evan McMullen, and this is the sort of thing that I always ask myself, because in the sort of like self-flattering fantasy of like, if I, like, you know, everyone thinks about Nazi Germany, what would I have done? Would I have been one of the courageous people that was willing to put honor or put some sort of sense of integrity or sense of what is right above my own petty political ambitions, my own desire for money or fame or whatever?
Yeah.
And clearly we've seen people left and right, Paul Ryan, John McCain, who maybe have the guts to occasionally, Paul Ryan would go, well, you know, he said he grabbed women's pussies. Oh, I couldn't ever agree with that, but I'll still say that he should be president. It's just so, it makes me want to scream. It makes me want to vomit. I think it's so disgusting that there's no sort of spine or moral backbone at all.
None. None. And I mean, none. So now, isn't it amazing? Yeah. Did you ever think we would live to now be able to answer those questions that we've asked for so long? What would I have done? It's not have done. It's what would I do?
Of course, and it's funny. You said earlier, like, it's the first time we in America had to ask these questions about our government or think, geez, this is what an autocrat would do. This is what someone who's intentionally trying to mislead and divide and rule and do all these things, employ every little obfuscation to hang on to power. What are we going to do about that? And so the day after the election, when I was just like catatonic thinking, oh God, this is like 1939 Germany, what is going on in our country? And my first class was with a Russian woman who grew up in the Soviet Union and lived through Perestroika and the fall of the Soviet Union, and her parents had to live through World War II and all these kind of massive upheavals. And so I was coming in thinking, oh, God, it's the end of the world, and she was able to offer a much more
perspective.
Measured,
yeah.
Also, I mean, it's a depressing hope to gain, I guess. Well, Russia's been through worse, but, you know.
Yeah, but we don't want to.
The world has to deal with constantly.
Oh my God! You know, it really is. It's fascinating to see. This is all Bannon, the playbook of how you destroy the institutions. That's what he wants to do. You want to wipe out all the institutions that keep our society and our country together, and he's doing it on a global level. That's why they go after NATO, go after so they want to literally destroy everything, and out of that build a new world order based on extreme nationalism and autocratic regimes. They think that'll work if everybody's looking after their own interests. My God in heaven.
I can't. It's such a psychotic vision of and it's also such a self-defeating one, because Trump is clearly just absolutely an arrowhead, has no sort of ideology, has no sort of actual beliefs.
True.
He's just in it for sort of I've actually now been, as a sort of way to simultaneously ramp up my blood pressure and make myself feel better because other people are going through the same stuff. I was listening the letter from the editor from the guy from Duke, who said his motives and his psychology are too obvious to even be
interesting.
Yeah, I think that's just so. Yes, it's true. There's nothing interesting there, so I don't see any point in people wasting more ink talking about Trump's mental health or talking about Trump in that sense. He's just a moral blank.
Right.
He's totally in it for himself.
Right.
But so that leads us to the question: who are these people around him? Who are the people that actually believe this kind of stuff and are putting it in his head?
Well, we know who they are. I think we know who they are.
Yeah,
it is Bannon, and Bannon's brought a lot of other Breitbart people in, so it is this Stephen Miller. It is Bannon. It is this, there's a coterie around him, and then there's, his son-in-law and Ivanka, and they're all on board. It's that small a little cabal, and with a ton of them being seriously neo-fascists. I mean, and they're in charge. There's no doubt about it. Oy, Hank. What a world.
Oh, well, it's just unbelievable.
God, it's nice to hear from you.
Bannon is just such a, you want to know something like embarrassing, but also scary? So now you can look at all these sort of Breitbart podcasts and Breitbart radio shows and Breitbart films and documentaries that he was somehow involved in.
Yes.
And they're of course just hack, sort of bad, ridiculous stuff. But if you listen to you would just listen to it earlier and roll your eyes and think this is just right-wing loony nonsense, and think, oh, holy shit, this guy is right next to the President of the United States. He is implementing and shaping policy at the highest level. He was the one involved in the rollout of this executive order. They didn't call any of the cabinet members or the heads of the departments. They went with this guy who, up until now, has just been making sort of crazy conspiracy films about what will happen after the apocalypse. And
and he now is essentially
the word nuclear holocaust. Nuclear holocaust.
It's beyond belief.
President of the United States.
Oh dear. Oh, Hank, I'm sorry.
It's like a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. And the only comforting thing is we're all having the same nightmare. So there is...
Of course, yes. Well, that's the sort of...
You're not alone.
Find some solidarity in it,
Oh, Hanko, thank you for calling and giving us the perspective of a young person. How old are you?
You're welcome.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Jeez!
So almost 22.
Almost 22. Wait till you get to my age. You stop rounding up. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to go see Susan and Babu Sunday.
I know. I heard. Yeah, tell them all. Say hi.
I
will.
Have a
great time on your vacation.
I will, and I want to see you soon. Maybe Passover.
Yeah, I hope
okay.
I'd love to.
I love you.
All right.
Okay, bye.
It was great talking with you.
Oh, you made my day. Bye. Bye. Aw. That's my brother's youngest. Yeah. Hanko. Harold. Harold, named after, I don't know, some Danish prince or something. I don't know what that. Wow. All right, you guys. Oi. Yeah, and Chris reminds us of the endangered... Yeah, the Republicans... Meanwhile, back at the Congress, the Republicans are doing real damage. And you know what they got on in their sites? The Endangered Species Act. You know what? I can't even bear to even look at some of this stuff. They're going to go after it. They're going to take it down. If anything's endangered, it is the Endangered Species Act because, fuck them. We bestride the globe, the colossus that we are, and we will determine who lives and who dies. Tony writes, I'm excited about your new studio. Me too. And looking forward to March 1. Did you see the studio yet? Yep, yesterday. Anyway, It's so different from that. You can't. I wish you could see this place. It is. There are like old computers lying around. There's tangles of wires. This place has not been cleaned in, what do you think, about 45 years? I don't know. It's just, this is the most disgusting place you cannot imagine. And the new place is like just brand new. Now, it's not, there's going to be some issues there, too, for us. It's not set up to do some of the stuff that we do, but we are working on it. And the cameras they have aren't going to work for us. And so it might take a little bit to get us up to speed, but, it'll be better. Oh, my God, it'll be better. So I'm very, yeah. Yes, and Brooke also reminds us that lost in the chaos created yesterday by the press conference, the Senate voted, this is so beyond belief, and the House already had, to repeal an Obama order that made it difficult, to say the least, for people with mental illness, people who had been judged to be so mentally ill they could not do their own anything having to do with financial. They're so nuts they cannot be allowed to write checks, do this, do that. The Republicans almost uniformly now have said, well, fine, they might be mentally ill like that, but that's no reason they can't have a gun. So now you can't make this up. You can't make it up. Who do we have here? Roger? Hiya, Roger. Hang on.
Today.
Hi, Roger. Hi.
Yeah.
What's up?
Hi. I got a little bit of bad news last night. I've been feeling better about this thing because I don't know why I'm feeling better. Maybe I'm in another stage of wherever path we're going down. But last night I had a bit of a setback. Bit of a setback.
You sound like me. I can't bear this. Okay, so, yeah, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, and down. So what set you back?
I found out my best friend voted for Trump last night. I mean, and he had indicated before that I can't vote for that crazy guy. And then he said the last minute it was just, it was something it was a last minute decision. He said he just pulled the lever for Trump, and it really rocked my world. It's like, but now he says, but now I realize he's crazy.
Well, that's helpful.
And I'm like, what in the whole Republican primary made you think he wasn't crazy?
Exactly.
I mean, that was a joke.
Yeah.
From day one, when they had what 2,500 candidates standing on the stage with the orange nightmare in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean.
So what are you? I mean, so wait, this guy. I mean, you sound like an intelligent human being. So you are not hanging with idiots. So what do you think the hell happened to this guy?
He said that he was pissing off Democrats. He was pissing off Republicans. He thought he was going to come in, shake things up. He was going to put Republicans and Democrats in there, and he was going to make things better. He thought, because he wasn't like glued to a party. And I said, Jim, it's been less than 4 weeks. Look what the hell's happened. And he says, I know. And
he needs to. So what do you think he needs to do? I mean, it's not good enough to say I'm sorry. He needs to. People who did that need to do something. I don't know what. He should be leading the marches against him. He should be willing to publicly speak up, put himself out there, I mean, he does. He can't just. I can't believe he even admitted it.
I can't either, especially when he knows how strong. He knows how much his bad. And and I played a little analogy for him. I said, you know what? He says, we're all sitting around having a couple of beers, after that I had to leave. I just had to leave. But I just said, you know what? remember the Christmas story about Ralphie and his Red Ryder BB gun, and it's on for 24 consecutive hours on TNT on Christmas morning or whatever. I said, and there's the flagpole scene. Everybody loves the flagpole scene.
Right.
Where it's like, I triple dog dare you to stick your tongue on the flagpole, and so the kid sticks his tongue on the flagpole, and he's frozen to the flagpole, and the bell rings.
Right.
And the kid's screaming for help, and the kid, but the bell rung, and it's like, and I think with Hillary as the candidate, and there's been conditioning going on for over 20 years, what an evil woman she is.
True.
And I'm thinking that my friend is a victim of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the bell rung. I can't vote for her. I mean, I seriously, it's been that.
It's conditioned, you're saying.
A lot of these.
Yeah. It's a conditional response. They had to. So, does your friendship survive?
Yeah, it has to. Because here's the thing. He's a really good. He's like the most decent person I know.
Okay, well,
I mean this is it's really weird, isn't it?
Okay, it is. But then I want you to challenge him. If he's such a decent person, then he must make amends. I don't know what that means, but maybe it's writing an op-ed for the local paper. Maybe it is he needs to publicly come out in some way. I don't even care if he has to. He has to figure out a way to compensate in some way the rest of us. I mean, he was part of potentially destroying this country. We still don't know what the end is here. I appreciate that he realized he made a mistake, but I think it's not for me to decide what he has to do, but I think he has to do something. It's not enough to say, I'm sorry. And you deliver that message to him.
Sorry.
Okay. I got to run because...
I will,
okay. I'm sorry, though. I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh, God.
Right.
Bye. Trump is he's breaking people apart. What do you got, Mike? Mike from the Cynics?
Hey, Lynn. You were about to get to it before Hank called, and it was when Trump called on April Ryan, the black reporter.
Oh, my God.
She asked him if he was going to meet with the CBC.
And he said, what's that?
He didn't know what the
Right.
Pardon me?
He said, what's that? I'm going to meet with who?
Yeah, he didn't even know what the CBC was. And then she said Congressional Black Caucus, and he goes, oh, yeah, the Congressional Blacks, the blacks. And he said, am I going to make an appointment with them? I don't know. Do you know them? Kind of like implying that all blacks know
other
each
blacks.
other.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Well, do you know them? Can you make me an appointment? Go ahead. Like really belligerently asking her to make an appointment for him, like she was his secretary. And by the way, get me some coffee and the toilet paper in my Trump dump room is very rough. I need softer toilet paper for my Trump rump. It's very sensitive. And then he went on with this kind of like non sequitur thing, like every day, every morning, every time I walk into the White House, I say, I want to meet with the Congressional Blacks. I want to meet with the Congressional Blacks. And it was just so weird. And to me, obviously racist. I heard some interviews with her afterwards, and she was being really nice about it.
No, so, I mean, this is the one,
she wants a seat at the press table. So
she's the one that Omarosa almost punched in front of Spicer's office the other day. Omarosa said to her, she was right in her face, and she said, I want you to know we have a dossier on you.
Oh, my God. Wow. You
I know.
Show off saying that.
Wow.
Say it again.
Wow.
Oi. I hope you have a wonderful vacation.
Thank you.
Get some vitamin D.
Yeah.
Some fresh sea air, ocean air, I mean. And I can't wait to see what goes on in the new studio.
Me either. Exciting. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye. The Cynics. Okay. By the way, Trump also went on from her to say that Yeah, I would planned a meeting with one of those black people. Who was that? Elijah Cummings from Maryland. But he said Cummings had told him that it might be bad for me politically. I can't meet with you. And Cummings said this after the news conference: I have no idea what he's talking about. And he made that up. He just made that up. Oh. I'm going to finish up with a little more Brooks. Trump is ripe to be played. Give the boy a lollipop and he won't notice if you steal his lunch. The Japanese gave Trump a new jobs announcement he could take all to the Midwest, and in return they got presidential attention and coddling that other governments would have died for. The Israelis got a possible one-state solution. The Chinese got Trump to flip-flop on the one China policy. The Europeans got him to do a 180 on undoing the Iran nuclear deal. Little of this is being pointed out. Everything he said has gone 180, 180, 180. And Vladimir Putin, he says, was born for a moment such as this. Wow. Okay. I didn't even scratch the surface as usual. There's so much. And guys, I ain't gonna miss you, the studio, but I sure as hell am gonna miss talking to you for the next 10 days. Let's hope we're all still here. And next time I see you, it'll be a different setting. Uh-oh. This story just broke. Hang on. Oh, my God. The Trump administration is considering calling out. It denies it's doing that. This is Associated Press. The Trump administration is considering a proposal to mobilize as many as 100,000 National Guard troops to round up unauthorized immigrants. Come on. It's a draft memo that was obtained by the Associated Press. Spicer said, he said the report is false. Oh, like we believe him. The 11-page document calls for the unprecedented militarization of immigration enforcement as far north as Portland, Oregon, and as far east as New Orleans. 4 states that border on Mexico are included: California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. But it also takes in Oregon, Nevada, Utah, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Oh, my God. Okay. Well, it's from the fascist playbook. I don't know what to tell you. It's the fascist playbook. I hope we're all here in 10 days, and I look forward to seeing you. And I'm going to try not to pay attention when I'm gone, but it's impossible for me. So, anyway, God bless you, or not. That's for the atheists out there. I mean, God, I don't know what to say. Goodbye. And March 1, March 1, March 1, March 1. I love you.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.